My wife posted it at 7:23 a.m. on a Tuesday, right between her green smoothie selfie and a motivational quote about manifesting abundance. The post that would ultimately destroy her kingdom. Real men don't question their queens. They support, they provide, they worship. Period. Hashtag queen life. Hashtag know your worth. Hashtag real men step up. I'm Max Reynolds, 39 years old, design engineer for industrial machinery, and apparently not a, quote, real man, according to my wife Elena's latest social media proclamation. I was sitting in my truck outside the job site, scrolling through Facebook during my coffee break, when I saw it. 47 likes already, 12 comments from her gaggle of enablers cheering her on. Yes, queen. Preach it, girl. Where can I find a real man like yours? That last comment made me snort coffee through my nose. If only they knew about the men's cologne I'd found in our bedroom last week. Tom Ford Oud Wood, $200 a bottle. I wear Old Spice when I'm feeling fancy. But it wasn't just the cologne. It was the gold cufflinks on her nightstand that I had never seen before. The hotel receipt for a queen suite at the Marriott downtown that fell out of her purse. The way she'd been working late every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 2 months. My thumb hovered over the comment box. Elena Reynolds, 36, litigation attorney at Palmer & Associates, was about to learn that this particular peasant had some thoughts about her royal decree. I typed, real queens don't hide things from their kings. They communicate, they respect, they stay loyal. Period. $, know your worth. $, real queens step up. Posted. Tagged her boss Greg Palmer, whose cologne I was pretty sure was decorating our bedroom. My phone started buzzing immediately. What the hell is wrong with you? Elena's text came through before I'd even put the phone down. Delete that right now. I could picture her in her pristine corner office, her perfectly straightened blonde hair, her power suit, her face flushed with rage. Good. Let her squirm. Another text. We'll talk about this at home. Delete the post, Max. I'm serious. I screenshot both messages and replied, real queens don't give orders to their kings in public, sweetheart. See you tonight. By lunch, my post had 63 likes and 28 comments. People were taking screenshots, the local gossip pages were sharing it, Elena's friends were in full damage control mode, but the internet had already done what the internet does best. It remembered everything. My buddy Donnie called around noon. Dude, did you just declare war on your wife on Facebook? War implies 2 equal armies, I said, biting into my sandwich. This is more like a peasant uprising. Donnie laughed. He's an ex-cop turned bouncer at Murphy's Bar downtown, and he's never liked Elena. Says she's got that look, the one that screams trouble from a mile away. You sure you want to poke this bear? She's a lawyer, man. She's cheating on me, Don. Silence. Then, you got proof? Working on it, but yeah, I'm sure. Need help? Maybe. I'll let you know. That evening, I got home before Elena for the first time in months. Our house sits on Maple Street in Riverside Heights, one of those upper-middle-class neighborhoods where everyone pretends their lives are perfect and their marriages are solid. I'd renovated most of it myself over the past 5 years. New kitchen, finished basement, custom built-ins in the living room. Blood, sweat, and weekend labor. I was grilling burgers on the back deck when her BMW pulled into the driveway. She slammed the car door hard enough to rattle the windows. Max! She stormed through the sliding door like an angry tornado in a business suit. What the hell was that today? I flipped a burger, took my time with it. What was what? You know exactly what. That post. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Funny, I said, not looking at her. I thought I was just supporting my queen. Isn't that what real men do? Don't be an ass. Delete it. No. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to that dangerous whisper she used in court. Delete it, Max, or you'll regret it. I finally turned to face her. Even furious, she was beautiful. 5'6", curves in all the right places, green eyes that could melt steel when she wanted something. Those same eyes had convinced me to marry her 8 years ago. Now, they just looked cold. Will I regret it as much as you regret leaving Greg Palmer's cologne on my nightstand? Her face went white. For about 3 seconds. Then the lawyer kicked in. I don't know what you're talking about. Tom Ford Oud Wood. $200 bottle. Want me to show you the receipt I found in your purse? You went through my purse? You left it open on the kitchen counter. Receipt was right on top. Queen Suite at the Marriott. Champagne and strawberries. Very romantic. She crossed her arms, lifted her chin. Full defensive mode. That was a client meeting. Which client requires champagne and strawberries in a hotel suite? It's complicated. You wouldn't understand. I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. Try me. I'm just a dumb engineer, but I might be able to follow along. Don't be ridiculous, Max. You're being paranoid. Am I? Then call Greg, right now. Ask him to come over for dinner. I'd love to meet this client who needs such personal attention. Her jaw tightened. I'm not calling anyone. This conversation is over. She turned to go inside, but I caught her arm, gently but firmly. No, it's not. We're going to talk about this. She jerked away. Don't touch me. I'm your husband. Act like it. The words hit like a slap. 8 years of marriage, and she was questioning whether I acted like her husband, while she was screwing her boss. You want me to act like your husband? Fine. Here's what husbands do when their wives cheat on them. I pulled out my phone, opened Facebook, started typing. What are you doing? Updating my status. Sometimes you don't realize your queen is actually a joker until you see her whole hand. Max, don't you dare. Posted. Tagged Greg Palmer again. Elena's phone started ringing immediately. She glanced at it, declined the call. It rang again. You're going to ruin everything, she hissed. Everything was already ruined. I'm just making it official. She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something I'd never seen before in her eyes. Fear. Not of me, but of exposure. Of consequences. We can work this out, she said finally. We can go to counseling. Fix this. Can we? Because 5 minutes ago you were denying everything. Now suddenly you want to work it out? I made a mistake. Which mistake? Cheating on me or getting caught? She didn't answer. Just stood there in her perfect suit with her perfect hair, looking less like a queen and more like someone who just realized her kingdom was built on sand. My phone buzzed. A private message from someone named Jennifer Walsh. Hi, Max. I saw your post about Greg Palmer. I think we should talk. I'm his wife. I showed Elena the message. Watched her face crumble. Looks like your king has a real queen after all, I said. And she wants to compare notes. Jennifer Walsh turned out to be everything Elena wasn't. Where my wife was calculated and cold, Jennifer was warm and straightforward. Where Elena wore armor disguised as designer clothes, Jennifer showed up to Murphy's bar the next evening in jeans and a sweater, looking like someone who'd been crying, but was ready to fight. You look like hell, I said, as she slid into the booth across from me. Thanks, you're a real charmer. But she smiled when she said it. You look pretty rough yourself. She wasn't wrong. I'd slept maybe 3 hours the night before. Elena had locked herself in our bedroom and refused to come out, even when I'd knocked and asked if she wanted dinner. I'd ended up sleeping on the couch I'd built with my own hands, in the living room I'd renovated, staring at the ceiling and wondering how everything had gone so wrong. So, Jennifer said, wrapping her hands around her coffee mug, how long have you known? Couple weeks, maybe a month if I'm honest. You? 6 months. That hit me like a punch to the gut. 6 months? And you didn't say anything? I tried talking to Greg. He denied it. Said I was being paranoid, jealous, crazy. The usual playbook. She took a sip of coffee, made a face. God, this is terrible. Murphy's isn't known for their coffee. So what changed? Why reach out now? Your Facebook posts. The way you called them out publicly. I realized I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't alone. Jennifer Walsh was 34, a kindergarten teacher, married to Greg Palmer for 12 years. No kids. They'd been trying for years, she said. But Greg always had an excuse to put it off. Now she knew why. He's been working late constantly, she continued. Business trips that don't make sense. New clothes, new cologne, new attitude. Started calling me clingy when I asked questions.
Let me guess. Tom Ford Oud Wood? Bingo! $200. I looked it up. She pulled out her phone. Scrolled through some photos.
Found this in his jacket pocket last week. It was a receipt from Victoria's Secret. Lingerie. Expensive stuff. Size 6. Elena's size, I said. I figured. I'm a size 10. Have been since college. Greg knows that. We sat in silence for a moment. Two people who'd been made fools of by the people they'd trusted most. So what do we do? Jennifer asked. We get proof. Real proof. Then we burn their little kingdom to the ground. I'm a kindergarten teacher, Max. I don't do burning kingdoms. You do now, unless you want to spend the next 12 years wondering who else he's screwing. She considered this, staring into her terrible coffee. What kind of proof? Photos. Videos. Documentation. Something that can't be denied or explained away. That sounds like stalking. It's called protecting yourself. Trust me, when lawyers get involved, you want evidence. Donnie showed up around 8, sliding into the booth next to me like we'd planned this whole thing, which, in a way, we had. Jennifer, meet Donnie. Donnie, Jennifer. The other betrayed spouse, Donnie said, shaking her hand. Max told me about your situation. I'm sorry. Thanks. Are you going to help us commit felonies? Donnie laughed. No felonies, but I know how to follow people without getting caught, and I know how to document things, legally. 20 years as a cop teaches you a few tricks. Ex-cop, I corrected. Once a cop, always a cop, just with better hours and worse benefits. Jennifer looked between us. This is really happening, isn't it? We're really going to spy on them. We're going to gather evidence of adultery for divorce proceedings, Donnie said. Perfectly legal, morally justified, and personally satisfying. When do we start? I grinned. Tonight. Elena's working late again. Want to bet she's not at the office? We were right, of course. At 9:30 p.m., Donnie's truck was parked across from the Marriott downtown, and we watched Elena's BMW pull into the parking garage. 10 minutes later, Greg's Mercedes followed. Room 412, Donnie said, lowering his binoculars. Same room as the receipt you found. How do you know that? Jennifer asked. Because I called the hotel, said I was Greg Palmer, and asked if my usual room was available tonight. Desk clerk said 412 was already reserved for me. He grinned. People are helpful when you know how to ask. I took photos of both cars in the garage. License plates, timestamps, everything. Jennifer sat in the back seat, quiet, probably processing the reality of what we were seeing. You okay? I asked. No, but I will be. We waited 2 hours. Took more photos when they left separately. Alina first, then Greg 20 minutes later. Both looking satisfied and relaxed in a way that made my stomach turn. That's it? Jennifer asked. We just take pictures of cars? That's step 1, Donnie said. Step 2 is more interesting. Step 2 happened 3 days later. Donnie had done his homework, figured out their pattern. Tuesday and Thursday nights, same hotel, same room, like clockwork. This time, we were ready. I'd borrowed a friend's catering uniform and a rolling cart from the restaurant supply store where my cousin worked. Donnie had a security guard outfit that still fit from his moonlighting days. Jennifer stayed in the truck with a camera and a clear view of the hotel entrance. This is insane, she said for the 10th time. This is justice, I replied. The plan was simple. Donnie would distract the desk clerk with questions about security procedures. Ex-cop checking out a potential job. Perfectly normal. I'd take the service elevator to the 4th floor, wheel the cart down the hall past room 412, and use the audio recorder Donnie had bought to capture whatever was happening inside. What if they catch you? Jennifer asked. They won't, and if they do, I'm just a caterer who got lost. It worked perfectly. Too perfectly, maybe. I got 15 minutes of crystal clear audio through the thin hotel walls. Elena's voice, Greg's voice, and conversations that left no doubt about what was happening. But it wasn't just sex. It was worse than that. They were planning. Max is getting suspicious, Elena's voice came through clearly. He found the cologne. What did you tell him? I denied it, obviously, but he's not backing down. He's making posts on Facebook, embarrassing me. Can you make him stop? I'm working on it. But Greg, if this gets out, it'll ruin both of us. Your wife, my husband, the firm. It won't get out. We'll be more careful. Or we could speed things up. File for divorce. Claim irreconcilable differences. What about the money? Your house. His assets? I've been documenting his behavior. The Facebook posts, his paranoia, his accusations. I can make a case for emotional abuse. My blood went cold. She was planning to divorce me and claim I was abusive, all while screwing her boss in a hotel room I was probably paying for with our joint credit card. Smart, Greg said. What about Jennifer? What about her? She's been asking questions too. Handle your own wife, Greg. I'll handle mine. The recording went on for another 10 minutes, but I'd heard enough. I made it back to the truck without getting caught, handed the recorder to Jennifer, and watched her face go white as she listened. They're planning to destroy us, she whispered. They're planning to try, I corrected. Big difference. Donnie started the truck. So what's the play? I thought about it as we drove back toward Riverside Heights, thought about 8 years of marriage, about the house I'd renovated, about the life I'd built with someone who was planning to tear it all down and paint me as the villain. We go nuclear, I said finally. What does that mean? Jennifer asked. It means we stop playing defense. It means we take everything we've learned, everything we've documented, and we make it public. All of it. Max. They want to play games? Fine. But they're playing in my house now, and I know every inch of this battlefield. I pulled up my phone, started typing a new Facebook post. What are you doing? Jennifer asked, declaring war. The post was simple. Some people think being a queen means you can do whatever you want without consequences. Those people are about to learn the difference between a queen and a tyrant. Stay tuned. Posted. Tagged Greg Palmer, Alina Reynolds, and Palmer & Associates. Within minutes, my phone was blowing up. Friend requests from people I hadn't talked to in years. The internet had caught the scent of drama, and it was hungry for more. Elena called at 11:47 p.m. What the hell do you think you're doing? I think I'm about to show you what happens when you try to overthrow the wrong king, I said, and hung up. The war had begun. The next morning, I woke up to find my Facebook post had been shared 247 times. The comment section looked like a battlefield. Elena's friends defending her, my friends and coworkers asking what was going on, and complete strangers picking sides based on nothing but drama and instinct. But the most interesting comment came from someone unexpected. Jade Morrison, Elena's paralegal, and supposedly one of her closest friends. Some queens forget that even peasants have eyes and ears. I screenshot it before she could delete it. My phone rang. Jennifer. Did you see Jade's comment? Just saw it. Think she knows something? I think she knows everything. Jade's worked at Palmer & Associates for 6 years. She sees all the office gossip, handles all the scheduling, processes all the expenses. Including hotel receipts? Probably. I was getting dressed for work when another call came in. Unknown number. Max Reynolds? Yeah. This is Jade Morrison. I work with your wife. We need to talk. Jade Morrison turned out to be a surprise ally. 28 years old, sharp as a knife, and apparently fed up with being treated like furniture by the lawyers at Palmer & Associates. We met at a diner on the other side of town, far from anywhere Elena or Greg might see us. Jade showed up looking nervous but determined, carrying a manila folder that she clutched like a lifeline. Before we start, she said, sliding into the booth across from me, I want you to know I'm not doing this to hurt Alina. I'm doing this because what they're doing is wrong, and because Greg Palmer is a pig who thinks he can treat everyone like servants. What's in the folder? Everything. She opened it, spread papers across the table. Hotel receipts going back 4 months, restaurant bills, flower deliveries, gift purchases, all charged to the firm's expense account as client entertainment. I picked up one of the receipts. Dinner for 2 at Romano's, the most expensive restaurant in town, $347. Date night on the firm's dime. There's more, Jade continued. Conference room reservations that were never used. Overtime hours billed for meetings that never happened. They've been using company resources to fund their affair. Why are you showing me this? Because Greg Palmer promised me a promotion 6 months ago. Said I was indispensable. That he'd make me a legal assistant, give me a raise. Know what I got instead? More work, same pay, and the privilege of covering for his affair while he treats me like I'm invisible. She pulled out another document. This is the real kicker. Greg's been billing clients for hours he spent with your wife. Mr. Henderson paid for 3 hours of legal consultation last Tuesday. Want to guess where Greg really was? Room 412 at the Marriott. Bingo. I studied the papers, my anger building with each receipt, each fraudulent billing entry, each piece of evidence that they'd been stealing from clients to fund their betrayal. Jade, this is fraud. Serious fraud. I know, and I've been documenting all of it, because I figured someday it would come back to bite them. I just didn't know I'd be the one doing the biting. What do you want in return for this? She smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I want to watch their world burn, and I want a reference letter when I find a new job. Deal. That afternoon, I took a long lunch and drove to Palmer & Associates. The law firm occupied the top 2 floors of a downtown office building, all glass and steel and intimidation. I'd been there exactly twice in 8 years, once for the Christmas party, once to pick up Elena when her car was in the shop. The receptionist, a young woman who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else, barely glanced up when I walked in. I'm here to see my wife, Elena Reynolds. Is she expecting you? It's a surprise. She made a call, spoke in hushed tones, then hung up. She'll be right out. Elena appeared 3 minutes later, looking flustered and angry. She was wearing a black suit that probably cost more than I made in a week, her hair pulled back in a severe bun that made her look older than her 36 years. Max, what are you doing here? Thought I'd take my wife to lunch. You know, like married people do. I'm busy. Too busy for your husband? The receptionist was watching us now, not even pretending to work. A couple of other employees had found reasons to linger in the lobby. I could feel their attention like heat. We can't do this here, Elena said, her voice low and urgent. Do what? Have lunch with my wife? You know what you're doing. Stop it. I'm trying to save my marriage, Elena. Isn't that what you want? Before she could answer, Greg Palmer emerged from the elevator. 6'2", silver hair, expensive suit, and the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. He took one look at me and his jaw tightened. Mr. Reynolds. What brings you by? Just visiting my wife. Hope that's okay with you. Of course, though I should mention that personal visits during work hours aren't typically... Greg. Elena's voice was sharp. It's fine. Max was just leaving. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I was hoping to get a picture. You know, for social media. My wife at her important job with her important boss. I held up the phone, started taking photos. Greg stepped back, like I was pointing a gun at him. You can't take pictures in here without permission, he said. Really? Is that a law or just a policy? It's because I'm pretty sure I can take pictures of my wife anywhere I want. Freedom of the press and all that. I kept snapping photos. Elena looking panicked. Greg looking furious. The receptionist staring like she was watching a car accident. Other employees gathering to see what the commotion was about. Max, stop, Elena hissed. Stop what? Being proud of my successful wife? I raised my voice just enough to make sure everyone could hear. Everyone. I want you to meet my wife, Elena Reynolds. She's been working so hard lately, staying late, going above and beyond for her clients, really putting in those extra hours. Greg's face was turning red. Mr. Reynolds, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Why? Am I making you uncomfortable? You're disrupting our workplace. I'm supporting my wife. Isn't that what good husbands do? I took one more photo. This one of Greg and Elena, standing close together, both looking guilty as hell. Then I put my phone away. Well, I should get back to work. Real work, where we build things instead of just billing people for them. I kissed Elena on the cheek. She flinched like I'd slapped her. See you at home, sweetheart. We'll have so much to talk about. I walked out of there feeling like I'd just won the first real battle of the war. Behind me, I could hear urgent whispers. Damage control beginning. But it was too late. The seed was planted. The questions were being asked. That evening, Jade texted me. Holy shit, Max. The whole office is talking about your visit. Greg's been in his office with the door closed all afternoon, and Elena looks like she's going to throw up. Good, I texted back. There's more. I heard Greg on the phone with someone, talking about controlling the narrative and limiting exposure. I think they're planning something. Let them plan. I'm 3 steps ahead. But I wasn't, really. I was making it up as I went along, running on anger and adrenaline and the growing certainty that if I didn't fight back now, I'd lose everything. The house, the money, my reputation, maybe even my freedom, if Elena followed through on her plan to claim abuse. That night, I uploaded the photos from the law office to Facebook, captioned them. Visited my hard-working wife at Palmer & Associates today. Amazing how dedicated she and her boss are to their clients. Really going the extra mile. The post got 89 likes in the first hour. The comments were a mix of support and confusion, but I could see the wheels turning. People were starting to ask questions. My phone rang at 10:30 p.m. Elena. Take down the post. No. Max, I'm warning you. You're warning me? About what? Are you going to cheat on me harder? Silence. Then, I want you out of the house. It's my house too. My name's on the deed. Then I'll leave. Where will you go? Greg's place? Oh, wait. He's married too. The line went dead. An hour later, I heard her car start in the driveway. Watched from the bedroom window as she backed out and drove away, probably to some hotel. Maybe even room 412 at the Marriott, if they were feeling nostalgic. I was alone in the house I'd renovated with my own hands, in the bed I'd shared with a woman who was planning to destroy me. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was winning. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Greg didn't come home tonight either. I think we rattled them. Good, I replied. Tomorrow we rattle them harder. The war was just getting started. The neighborhood barbecue was my idea, but everyone thought it was Elena's attempt at damage control. Perfect. I'd spent the morning of Saturday setting up our backyard like I was hosting a block party. Tables, chairs, a borrowed sound system, and a projector screen I'd rented from the same place that supplied equipment for the high school football games. Our neighbors probably thought I'd lost my mind, but they showed up anyway. Free food and the promise of drama. Irresistible combination. By noon, we had 30 people milling around the backyard. The Hendersons from next door, the young couple with the twin boys from across the street, old Mr. Peterson, who never missed a chance to complain about property values, even some people from 3 streets over who'd heard about the Reynolds situation through the neighborhood gossip network. Alina showed up at 12:30, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. She'd been staying at her sister Megan's apartment downtown, but she couldn't avoid this without looking guilty. Not when half the neighborhood was already here, asking where she was. "What is this, Max?" she asked, surveying the crowd with barely concealed horror. "It's a barbecue, you know, community building, bringing people together." "You hate neighborhood events." "I'm trying to be more social." "You're always saying I should get out more, meet people." Greg Palmer arrived 20 minutes later, which surprised exactly no one who'd been paying attention. He'd probably gotten a panicked call from Elena, begging him to show up and help her manage the situation. "Greg," I called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Glad you could make it." "Everyone, this is Greg Palmer, my wife's boss. He's been working so closely with Elena lately, I figured he was practically family." Greg's smile looked like it was carved from ice. "Thanks for inviting me, Max, though I should mention I can't stay long." "Oh, you'll want to stay for the presentation." "Presentation?" I gestured toward the projector screen. "I put together a little slideshow. Elena and Greg, a professional partnership. Thought everyone would enjoy seeing how hard my wife's been working." The color drained from both their faces. Jennifer Walsh chose that moment to arrive, carrying a covered dish and wearing a smile that could cut glass. I'd invited her, of course. Told the neighbors she was a friend going through a rough divorce. Needed some community support. They'd welcomed her with typical suburban kindness. "Jennifer," I called out, "come meet everyone. This is Jennifer Walsh. She's a kindergarten teacher. Just moved to the area." Greg looked like he was going to be sick. "Actually," Jennifer said, her voice carrying clearly across the yard, "I've lived here for 12 years. Same house on Elm Street. But I've been keeping to myself lately. Marriage troubles. You know how it is." The neighbors nodded sympathetically. Mrs. Henderson patted Jennifer's arm. "We've all been there, dear. Though it's funny," Jennifer continued, "how you don't really know someone until you see who they become when they think no one's watching." I fired up the projector. The first slide appeared on the screen. Alina and Greg, a professional partnership. "Oh, this is good," said Jake Morrison from 2 houses down. He'd brought beer and was clearly settling in for the show. "Max," Elena said, her voice tight with panic, "can I talk to you? Privately?" After the presentation, honey, I worked really hard on this. The second slide was a photo of Palmer & Associates' website with professional headshots of both Elena and Greg. My wife works for Palmer & Associates, one of the city's most prestigious law firms. She's been putting in a lot of extra hours lately, really going above and beyond for their clients. Polite applause from the neighbors. Elena looked like she was going to throw up. The third slide was a hotel receipt. Room 412, Marriott downtown. Champagne and strawberries. In fact, she's been so dedicated that she's been meeting with clients in hotel suites. Now that's customer service. The applause died. People started looking confused, then interested. The kind of interest you see when people realize they're witnessing something they'll be talking about for years. Max, stop this right now, Greg said, stepping forward. Stop what? I'm just sharing how proud I am of my wife's work ethic. The fourth slide was the recording transcript. Not the audio, that would have been too much, but key quotes, presented as a conversation between Attorney A and Attorney B. Attorney A. We need to be more careful. If this gets out, it'll ruin both of us. Attorney B. What about the money? The assets? Attorney A. I can make a case for emotional abuse. You could hear a pin drop. 30 neighbors standing in my backyard reading evidence of adultery and fraud projected on a 12-foot screen. This is private property, Greg said, his voice shaking. You can't. It's my property, I replied, and these are my neighbors. I thought they should know what kind of people they're dealing with. The fifth slide was the expense account records Jade had provided. Hotel bills, restaurant receipts, gift purchases, all labeled as client entertainment and charged to Palmer & Associates. Turns out, my wife and her boss have been using company money to fund their relationship, which I guess makes their clients unwitting sponsors of adultery. Mrs. Henderson gasped. Old Mr. Peterson started taking pictures with his phone. Jake Morrison opened another beer and settled deeper into his lawn chair. You son of a bitch, Greg snarled, lunging toward me. That was his mistake. Donnie, who'd been standing quietly by the grill, stepped between us. 6'4", 250 pounds of ex-cop muscle. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Donnie said calmly. This is harassment. Slander. Actually, said a new voice from the back of the crowd, it's evidence. Everyone turned. A woman in her 50s, carrying a briefcase, was walking through the gate from the front yard. Who are you? Elena demanded. Detective Sarah Chen, Financial Crimes Division. We've been investigating Palmer & Associates for client billing irregularities. This presentation has been very educational. Greg went white. Elena looked like she was going to faint. Based on what I've seen here today, I think we'll need to have a more formal conversation. Both of you. The crowd was dead silent now. This had gone from neighborhood drama to criminal investigation in the space of 5 minutes. Max, Elena whispered. Please. We can work this out. Can we? Because 10 minutes ago you were denying everything. Again. I clicked to the final slide. A simple message. Some people think being a queen means never facing consequences. Those people are wrong. Detective Chen was taking notes, asking neighbors for copies of the photos they'd taken. Greg was on his phone, probably calling a lawyer. Elena was crying, her perfect makeup running down her face. The barbecue's over, I announced. Thanks for coming, everyone. I think we've all learned something valuable today. As the crowd dispersed, buzzing with excitement and shock, Jennifer walked over to me. That was brutal, she said. It was necessary. What happens now? Now they face the consequences, both of them. Elena and Greg left separately, both looking like their worlds had just collapsed, which, I suppose, they had. Donnie helped me clean up the backyard, packing away the projector and folding the chairs. You know this isn't over, right? He said. I know, but the worst part is, everyone knows the truth now. They can't lie their way out of this. My phone was already buzzing with messages. Neighbors wanting more details. Friends who'd heard about the barbecue. Reporters who'd somehow gotten wind of the story. The internet had found a new scandal to feast on, and Greg Palmer and Elena Reynolds were the main course. That night, alone in my house for the first time in 8 years, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. The war wasn't over, but I'd won the battle that mattered most. The truth was out there now, spreading through social media and neighborhood gossip networks like wildfire. Elena had wanted to be a queen. Now she'd get her wish. She'd be the queen of the biggest scandal Riverside Heights had seen in decades, and I was just getting started. Monday morning brought consequences. I was drinking coffee and scrolling through the local news website when I found the article. Local law firm under investigation for billing fraud. Palmer & Associates was front-page news, and not the good kind. The reporter had done their homework. They had interviewed Detective Chen, gotten quotes from the State Bar Association, even tracked down a few of Greg's clients, who were now questioning their bills. The neighborhood barbecue had been mentioned, described as a public confrontation that exposed alleged financial irregularities and personal misconduct. My phone rang. Jade Morrison. Max, you need to know. They fired me. What? When? This morning. Greg called me at 6 a.m., said I was terminated for, quote, breach of confidentiality and unprofessional conduct. He's claiming I stole confidential documents. Did you? I photocopied expense reports and billing records, same thing I do every week for the accountant. The only difference is where I sent the copies. Can he make it stick? Probably not, but it doesn't matter. Word's already getting around that I'm the one who leaked everything. No law firm in town will hire me now. I felt a stab of guilt. Jade had risked her career to help me, and now she was paying the price. I'm sorry, Jade. This is my fault. No, it's not. It's Greg Palmer's fault for being a cheating, stealing piece of shit, and it's Alina's fault for going along with it. What will you do? I've got some money saved up, and Detective Chen wants to hire me as a consultant for the investigation. Turns out, knowing where all the bodies are buried is a valuable skill. After we hung up, I called my lawyer, Dave Martinez. I'd used him for the house purchase and some contract work over the years. Good guy, straight shooter, not afraid of a fight. Max, I was hoping you'd call. I saw the news. I need to file for divorce, Dave. And I need to protect myself from whatever Elena's planning. Smart move. From what I've seen, she's going to come at you hard. Adultery cases get ugly fast, especially when there's money involved. How much money are we talking about? House is worth about $400,000. You've got maybe $50,000 in savings, retirement accounts, vehicles, plus whatever assets she's got. Could be looking at a $300,000 settlement, depending on how the court splits things. And if she claims I was abusive, then you're looking at a lot less. Maybe nothing, if she's convincing enough. That afternoon, Dave filed the divorce papers. Adultery, irreconcilable differences, and a request for full disclosure of all financial records. Within hours, Elena's lawyer had responded with a counterfiling claiming emotional abuse, financial control, and demanding a restraining order. The war had gone legal. Tuesday brought more bad news. Greg Palmer held a press conference, standing in front of Palmer & Associates, with 2 lawyers and a PR consultant. He denied all allegations of financial impropriety, claimed the billing irregularities were accounting errors, and painted me as a disgruntled spouse engaged in harassment and defamation. Mr. Reynolds has been stalking my client and his employees, Greg's lawyer said. He's used social media to spread false accusations and has engaged in behavior that borders on criminal harassment. They were good, professional, convincing, but they'd made one mistake. They'd forgotten about Jennifer. That evening, Jennifer called a press conference of her own, standing in front of her house on Elm Street, with Donnie beside her for support. She told her story to 3 local TV stations and a handful of newspaper reporters. I'm Jennifer Walsh, and I've been married to Greg Palmer for 12 years. I want everyone to know that the allegations against my husband are true. He's been having an affair with Elena Reynolds for months, using company resources to fund their relationship, and lying to clients about billable hours. She held up a folder thick with documents. I have bank statements, credit card bills, hotel receipts, and recorded phone conversations that prove everything Max Reynolds has said. My husband is a cheater and a thief, and I'm filing for divorce. The reporters ate it up. Betrayed wife supports betrayed husband. David and Goliath. Except there were 2 Davids, and they were both armed with evidence. Wednesday morning, I woke up to find my driveway blocked by news vans. The story had gone viral. #Queengate was trending on Twitter, and someone had turned my Facebook posts into memes. I called in sick to work and spent the day fielding phone calls from reporters, lawyers, and random people who wanted to share their own cheating spouse stories. The internet had adopted me as some kind of folk hero, the regular guy who'd taken down the corrupt lawyer and his cheating accomplice. But the real victory came Thursday morning. Dave called at 8 a.m., and I could hear the grin in his voice. "Max, you need to see the news. Turn on Channel 7. The headline read, "Palmer and Associates closes amid investigation." The reporter was standing in front of the law firm's building, which was now sealed with police tape. The State Bar Association has suspended Greg Palmer's license pending investigation into billing fraud allegations. The firm's assets have been frozen, and several former clients are filing malpractice suits. Palmer himself could not be reached for comment. I switched channels. Same story, different reporter. Alina Reynolds, Palmer's associate and alleged romantic partner, has also had her license suspended. Sources close to the investigation say criminal charges are likely. My phone rang. Jennifer. "Are you watching this?" "Yeah, holy shit." Greg came home last night. First time in a week. He's been crying, Max. Actually crying. Says his career is over, his reputation is destroyed. Everything he worked for is gone. Good. He wants to make a deal. Give me everything in the divorce. Admit to the affair. Cooperate with the investigation. He's desperate. What did you tell him? I told him to go to hell. Then I told him I wanted the house, the cars, his retirement accounts, and alimony. He agreed to all of it. Friday brought the final blow. Detective Chen held a press conference announcing that Palmer and Associates had been billing clients for over $200,000 in fraudulent hours over the past 2 years. Greg Palmer and Alina Reynolds were both facing criminal charges for theft, fraud, and conspiracy, but they wouldn't be going to jail. Dave explained it to me over lunch. First-time white-collar offenders, no violence, full cooperation with the investigation. They'll probably get probation, community service, and restitution. The real punishment is professional. They'll never practice law again. So they get away with it? Max, look around. Greg Palmer went from senior partner at a prestigious firm to unemployed and unemployable in 1 week. Alina went from rising star to professional pariah. Their reputations are destroyed, their careers are over, and everyone in town knows exactly what kind of people they are. Sometimes, that's worse than prison. He was right. Over the weekend, I drove past Greg's house. There was a for sale sign on the lawn. Elena's BMW was parked in the driveway of her sister's apartment complex, which meant she couldn't afford her own place anymore. Meanwhile, my phone was ringing constantly with job offers. 3 engineering firms wanted to hire me, and a publisher was interested in my story for a book deal. The internet had made me famous, and fame, it turned out, was profitable. Sunday evening, I was grilling burgers on my back deck, the same deck where this whole thing had started, when my doorbell rang. I walked around to the front of the house and found Elena standing on my porch. She looked terrible. Hair unwashed, no makeup, wearing jeans and a t-shirt instead of her usual power suits. She'd lost weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes. "Max, please. Can we talk?" "About what?" "About fixing this. About working things out." "There's nothing to work out, Elena. You made your choice. I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. But we can get past this. We can rebuild." "Rebuild what?" "Your career is over. Your reputation is destroyed. You're probably going to be convicted of fraud." "I know. But we could start over somewhere else. Move away, change our names, begin again." I stared at her, this woman I'd loved for 8 years, and felt nothing but pity. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about punishment or revenge anymore. This is about consequences. You chose Greg Palmer over me. You chose lies over truth. You chose to steal from clients and plan to destroy me in court. Those were your decisions, and now you get to live with the results. Max, please. The divorce papers are final next week. You'll get whatever the court says you deserve, which won't be much considering the adultery and fraud. After that, I never want to see you again." She started crying then, big, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. Part of me wanted to comfort her, the way I had for 8 years whenever she was upset. But that man was gone, killed by hotel receipts and secret meetings and plans to destroy his life. "I loved you," she whispered. "No, you didn't. You loved what I could give you. The house, the stability, the safety net, while you played queen with your boss. But you never loved me. I walked back around to the deck, leaving her crying on my front porch. A few minutes later, I heard her car start and drive away. The next morning, I got a text from Jennifer. Greg's moving back to his parents' house in Ohio. Couldn't handle the shame of staying here. Good riddance, I replied. What about you? What's next? I looked around my house. The kitchen I'd renovated, the living room I'd built, the deck where I'd grilled burgers and plotted the downfall of two people who'd tried to destroy me. It was mine now. All of it. Paid for with my labor, defended with my wits, and kept through my refusal to be anyone's fool. I'm staying right here, I texted back. This is my kingdom now. 6 months later, I was featured on the cover of Engineering Today magazine. The headline read, "The Divorce That Broke the Internet. How One Man's Social Media War Exposed a $200,000 Fraud." The article was flattering, painting me as a David who'd taken down two Goliaths using nothing but Facebook posts and determination. They got most of the facts right, though they made it sound more planned than it actually was. The truth is, I'd been making it up as I went along, running on anger and instinct and the growing certainty that if I didn't fight back, I'd lose everything. But I hadn't lost. I'd won, bigger than I ever imagined possible. The house was mine free and clear. Elena had waived all claims to it as part of the divorce settlement. The book deal had paid off the mortgage and left me with enough money to quit my job and start my own consulting firm. Reynolds Engineering Solutions was already booked solid through the next year, mostly with clients who'd heard my story and wanted to work with the guy who took down those crooked lawyers. Jennifer had become a close friend, maybe something more. Eventually. She'd used her divorce settlement to buy a bigger house and was dating a teacher from her school who treated her like the queen Elena had only pretended to be. We still met for coffee sometimes, two survivors of the same war, comparing notes on how to rebuild a life after betrayal. Jade Morrison was working as a private investigator now, specializing in financial fraud cases. Detective Chen had been so impressed with her work on the Palmer & Associates investigation that she'd recommended Jade for a PI license. Turns out, Jade had told me, knowing where all the bodies are buried is exactly what people want in a private detective. As for Elena and Greg, they'd both moved away. Greg to Ohio, like Jennifer had said, where he was working at his brother's insurance agency for a fraction of his former salary. Elena had gone to Florida, where she was tending bar at a resort and living in a studio apartment. Their law licenses were permanently revoked, their reputations destroyed, their lives reduced to the kind of ordinary existence they'd once looked down on. Sometimes I felt bad about that. 8 years of marriage had to count for something, right? But then I'd remember the hotel receipts, the fake billing entries, the plan to claim I was abusive, and the pity would fade. They'd made their choices. I just made sure those choices had consequences. The neighborhood barbecue had become an annual tradition. Every year on the anniversary of the confrontation, as people called it, we'd gather in my backyard to grill burgers and tell the story to newcomers who hadn't been there for the original show. It had become local legend, the kind of tale that got better with each telling. This year, as I stood on my deck watching 30 neighbors enjoy free food and drama-free conversation, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Max, it's Elena. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. For everything. I hope you're happy." I looked at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some conversations were over. Some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. Jake Morrison walked over with a beer, grinning like he always did when the subject of that barbecue came up. "You ever regret it?" he asked. "Going nuclear like that?" I looked around at my house, my friends, my life that I'd built from the ashes of my marriage. Thought about the book deal, the consulting business, the respect I'd earned from people who'd watched me refuse to be anyone's victim. "Not for a second," I said. The sun was setting over Riverside Heights, casting long shadows across the backyard where I'd once projected evidence of betrayal onto a 12-foot screen. The projector was long gone, packed away with the other props from that traumatic evening. But the memory remained, crystallized in neighborhood legend and internet memes. I'd started this whole thing with a Facebook post about real men and queens. Ended it by proving that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's getting even, getting everything, and getting the last word. Elena had wanted to be a queen. Instead, she'd made me a king. And kings, as everyone knows, don't abdicate their thrones. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city are you watching.